geniuses for their enlightenment, society ought not to degrade the hands by which it serves. So yes, the philosophes and the intellectuals are important, but we also should respect the ordinary knowledge of ordinary people, ordinary artisans. There are in this. I'm going to skip some of this stuff because this is in the. No. Throughout this period, people continue to produce new schemes of organization. Comenius, Kamensky, a Czech scholar, very influential in education, produces a picture dictionary with 20 categories: elements, waters, trees, animals, man and his body, and so forth. It has descendants even today. The Germans, in particular, Duden, produce these picture dictionaries, which are very useful. Anybody ever use a picture dictionary? If you're learning a foreign language, it's extremely useful. You're going, what's this part of the car called? Right? You can't find that in a dictionary. You can't go through all the definitions. You want a dictionary that organizes things by their place in the world and their relationship to other things like them, and then gives you the names of those things, the parts of a church, the parts of a. And of course, Roget, the inventor in English of the thesaurus, was himself, as MacArthur says, really starting with this scheme. He had a scheme of 1,000 categories, 10 times 10 times 10, which would be the entirety of material that the words of a language might cover. And then he would list them according to their similarities and so on and so forth. The index that people used in the thesaurus to look up individual words, he added as an afterthought. I think it wasn't even there in the first edition. This was supposed to be really a picture of a picture of the structure of the world. Instead, nobody cares about a system of organization. People simply look up words to find their synonyms. And in fact, today, of course, we have search. We don't even look at the index. We just go straight. We barrel inside, as Paul says, just describing search. Alphabetical order emerges fairly early on. Alphabetical order is used throughout even the Middle Ages, but it becomes a dominant mode of organization in this period. Robert Caudry will talk about Caudry's alphabetical list of English words, the first English dictionary, some would say 1604, and he has to explain alphabetical order to his readers. He explains it as follows. If thou be desirous, general reader, rightly and readily to understand and to profit by this table, and such like, then thou must learn the alphabet, to wit, the order of the letters as they stand perfectly without book, and where every letter standeth as B near the beginning, and about the midst, and T toward the end. Now, if the word which thou art desirous to find begins with A, then look at the beginning of this table. But if with V, then look toward the end. Again, if thy word beginning with CA, look at the beginning of the letter C, but if with CU, then look toward the end of that letter, and so of all the rest. What is that he's telling you about? What would you call that? What is he giving you? Instruction. What kind of instruction? What would you call that particular? I'm going to use the word. How many people here write? Yeah. I'm sorry? It's poetic. But what do we call? What kind of instruction is that? What is he? He's giving us a method there. What is it? Your name is searching out a bit more specifically? First look at the A, then look at the next letter, then look at the next letter. What do we call it? How many people here write code? It's a recursive procedure. Right? It's shot. It's a recursive procedure for finding words in alphabetical order. We learn it early and young. It's the first recursive procedure we learn as children is how to use the alphabet. And it has certain advantages. It facilitates access to particular entries. If I'm looking at Lisa, I know the shape of the word, I can go find it right away. Of course, if I know just what the word means, I'm in trouble when I need another system of organization. If I want a word that means the thing, what do you call the metal thing on the end of an umbrella? That's not going to help. It's philosophically modest. As Chambers says, it might be more for the general interest of learning to have the partitions thrown down between the different categories of knowledge, and the whole laid common together under one undistinguished name. The idea being that the alphabetical order destroys all structure. Things are just ordered according to the arbitrary and accidental properties of their names. So we don't have to choose one system of organization or another. We can merely organize them in that way, and we're being philosophically modest. Nonetheless, there's always an impulse, even with alphabetical order, to discern structure. Jean-Paul Sartre, in his autobiography, The Words, describes as a child pulling down the volumes of Grand Larousse, the great encyclopedic dictionary that stood on a shelf in every bourgeois home in France from the late 19th century to probably to the present. I have a copy that somebody gave me a long time ago. He says, I would take down a volume at random behind the desk on the next to last shelf. A to bellow, belloc to ch. These associations of syllables have become proper names that denoted the sectors of universal knowledge. There was the CI to D region, each with their flora and fauna, their cities, their great men and battles. So for him, each of these volumes of the encyclopedia, alphabetically organized, nonetheless stood for a different domain of knowledge as a child. You wonder what we come to now with Wikipedia, whether there's any structure there at all. Is it the logical end of destructuring, or we just have a completely flat structure where anything can have its unique entry, and we can get to anything by coming in sideways, so to speak, by throwing a term. Now, there are these efforts to give you to impart a structure after the fact, to list the other things that the other entries that something goes with. But it's an interesting question as to whether it's possible collectively to come up with any system of organization that will rationally organize. Think of music, for instance. Think of all the different. Suppose I took 10 of you at random and I said, okay, organize popular music. You're going to have thrash metal and death metal and pedal to the metal and whatever else there is, and so on and so forth. And you're going to take all of those categories that different people have. You think 10 of you could come up with a tree system for organizing, or would you just disagree? I'm asking an honest question. I see nods here. You think you could? I'm sorry? You disagree? What kind of? Yeah, your name is Lisa. Yeah. No, it's an interesting question. Could you write even with sophisticated? These are extraordinary. I mean, Shazam, can actually identify. I'm astonished that it can do that. But could you just from the music, just by running some algorithms on the music, say, okay, this is indie, this is indie folk, this is alternative, whatever, or are those social categories that you really couldn't just get from the music? You're nodding, but you're nodding to say yes or no. Is that what you get?
Yeah, because those are social categories that so even if you can't design some kind of algorithm, like criteria, everything those algorithms are still good.
Yeah, Michael. Yeah.
So like, I think it kind of depends on like what you want to organize music based on, because some people really don't, it's like really care when it comes to genres, but they want something that's a little bit more solution to time day, whatever. But then you also have things like what sort of genres you do expect not, like organizing music, you expect to probably hear a band or something, some other genre. And you can kind of determine that, but at the same time, it's all really sort of preferences and kind of organizing now. Everyone's iTunes library music, how music can be organized personally, because everyone kind of develops their own system, and it's kind of cool. I should see like sometimes, but nothing that's immediately identical.
And that's an interesting example because if you look at your home libraries, I mean, you probably, I don't know how many books the average, you have 50 to 200 books maybe in the average. Once you get a lot of books, you start coming up with different systems. You're going to have to organize them in different ways. Some of them have to do with your own research interests, some of them with this is French history, this is German history, some of them with size, as Paul says, some of the Hear My Heart books. But you're going to have to impose different systems of organization, some of which you inherit, some of which you generate bottom up. And I think in the case of music, it's more complicated because these tend to vary from one group to another. I'm sure within this very room of Berkeley undergraduates, you have a lot of different theories about where, I don't know, Green Day or something, don't ask me, I'm on the record, where such and such a group goes, just because you have different interests and think of things in different ways. Once you're not doing it top down, once you don't have D'Alembert and Diderot and so on imposing the structure, it becomes very problematic to know if there is any kind of structure that you can. Yeah, Michael.
So like another thing I like is things like, does it even matter much anymore now that we have a search box? And a search box that works really well. Because maybe your iPod can search music online, and of course Google and Spotlight on Mac. You don't need any structure, you just find what you want.
So you're saying that basically if you know what you're looking for, you don't, you just say, give me music like this, and the algorithm looks at how much banjo there is in it, and perhaps though, the idea of structure serves not simply the requirements of finding things, but the requirements of structuring knowledge in general. There may be other reasons for structuring things in general, because we need systems. People want organization. The third thing I mentioned that we could look at the curriculum and the organization of things like departments and institutional considerations. We can look at encyclopedias and things like. We can also look at the material ways in which representations of knowledge are constructed, the actual physical ways in which we organize the things in which knowledge is kept, either books or libraries or so on. I'll come to what this drawing is, I think, a little later. As I say, some people call these, the French call these trésors, libraries, anthologies, dictionaries, and the word treasuries, along with encyclopedic collections. All of these different things involve their material representation of knowledge, either in the form of books or buildings or boxes. If you look, for instance, at the organization of the 17th century libraries, the University of Leiden in Holland, I think you can't see the labels on those shelves, but their philosophy and theology and so on and so forth. The books are labeled according to the subject matter, and this gives us a sense of how they thought of it. In the same way, if I go to Doe, I can look at the shelves and see how people think things are organized. It's going to be complicated, but knowledge is a complicated thing. One little thing here, I don't know if you can see. You see what's hanging on that book there? The chain the books there, because books were expensive and so on. Now we don't chain the books, we chain the computers. We don't chain the books. There were also, recall our friends the virtuosi from last time, these amateurs who were going out to collect various, as Mary Astle said, a box or two of pebbles or shells, dozens of wasps, spiders, and caterpillars, and so on. They would bring these things back, and they would organize them, if they had enough space and were grand enough, into what was called a Kunstkammer, literally an art chamber, an art room, or a Wunderkammer, a chamber of wondrous things. And they would organize them all according to resemblances of form, evocation, how things seem to fit with each other. There wasn't any effort to make a scientific organization here, but to put these things together in some sense in some way that made sense to them. Some of them quite elaborate. Here's one in Naples, and you can see the crocodile and the other animals, and I don't know what else is there, the birds, the stuffed birds, and so forth. Hooper Greenhill, who's written a history of museums, writes that the Kunstkammer, this is Rudolf II, he was a Bavarian ruler who bankrupted himself in his kingdom to establish his Kunstkammer. She calls it a museum in quotes, articulated to an understanding of the world. Its contents were organized to exhibit a world picture with objects that symbolize all aspects of nature and art. This organization depended on the concept of resemblance. Things were organized, things were put together according to their apparent resemblance. Yeah, your name is Angelica.
Did this originate in Germany, or when did this
The German name is used in Italy and Germany was the place where it was first used. But there were some people had them in the virtuosi had them also in England. It was a European phenomenon. But yes, it was largely a Central European phenomenon. There was also the studiolo, which was the artistic equivalent, which people bought paintings to try to organize them of historical subjects or natural subjects or landscape, and try to organize them according to their natural resemblances. One extraordinary one, if you go to Italy, when you go to Italy after Paris, if you go to Le Marche, which is the east coast around Rimini and so on and so forth, Urbino is a small hill town, a beautiful preserved hill town, and there's a wonderful museum there actually of the Frederick of Montefeltro, the Duke, and there's this studiolo that's entirely in this inlaid wood. It's an extraordinary room in which all of the features of the world and the tools of science and so on are represented. Or if you were more modest resources, you might merely have a Kunstschrank, an art cabinet or an art shrine, again, in which things were arrayed by their resemblance and so forth. About the middle of the 17th century, some of these become available for public viewing, both the ones with the paintings and the natural wonders and so on and so forth. The British Museum is founded in 1759. It contains Hans Sloane, was a wealthy physician. Manuscript collections, antiquities, paintings, and so on are assembled there. It's open to the public. The Uffizi Gallery in Florence, in the middle of the 18th century, began at the Belvedere Palace. The Louvre, after the Revolution, the French Revolution, is opened. These are the kernels of the modern museum. Initially, in the 17th century, museums organized things organized, again, according to this principle of resemblance. Paintings are hung because they evoke similar moods or because they treat of the same subjects and so forth. In fact, this is a mode of display that some modern museums have returned to, have been experimenting with. The Tate in London does this in certain rooms. They'll take a David Hockney painting and some 17th century painting by Gainsborough and put them in the same room to get a dialogue going between them. But what we expect to find in museums and what's consistent with the same picture of organizational knowledge that we see in the Encyclopedia is something more like the Schloss Belvedere, the Belvedere Palace Museum in Vienna, in which now every room is given over to a country and a period. 17th century Dutch, 16th century Flemish, 16th century French, and so on and so forth. That modern sense of organization of the museum is a late 18th century notion. It comes with the Encyclopedia and that same notion of organization and excuse me. And becomes the same model of the representation of a domain. And similarly, if you go to the Museum of Natural History, you're going to see the same thing. You got your reptiles, you got your rodents, and so on and so forth. You're not going to mix them all up. I didn't think I did too well today, but we did. The readings for next time are on the syllabus. Do you have anything to say, Blake, about them?
No, it's pretty straightforward.
Okay, you said it's straightforward.
I think so.
Okay. And then the homework, this time again, due Tuesday at 5 o'clock. Read the descriptions of the procedures Johnson followed in compiling his dictionary in MacArthur and in Johnson's preface. How would they be different if he had modern technology? So suppose Johnson's sitting at your laptop in his dorm, right? And he's got all that stuff at his disposal. How would he have gone about doing his dictionary? How would it have been different? Could the whole thing have been crowdsourced? Or we still need lexicographers in some sense to do this with modern technology and what we have available. We want your opinion. Don't just say what MacArthur and Johnson say. No more than 500 words. Okay. See you Tuesday.